You want to change your life? Then look directly at this. You are not lacking strength. You are only lacking the ability to maintain your presence when the world tries to shake you. And if you cannot master yourself, you will always be led by the fears of others. Today, you will learn how to become someone who cannot be subdued. From this very moment, the audience steps into a journey not meant for superficial effort or half-hearted attempts, but a journey of rebuilding themselves from the roots so they can become someone who carries an energy that commands attention in any space they enter. Every person has their own presence, but most allow it to be buried under awkwardness, insecure silence, or hesitation beneath the gaze of others. This journey opens up to peel away the layers that have kept you small for so many years, and to guide you toward a version of yourself that is sharper, steadier, and more magnetic. In this world, people are not judged mainly by what they say, but by how they stand, how they look, and how they enter a conversation. A powerful presence is not showmanship, but the unmistakable sense that you are fully here in the moment, not hiding, not swept away by tension or doubt. This is the foundation upon which every other skill is built. When a person lacks presence, they lose their ability to lead interactions. They react instead of guiding, they avoid eye contact instead of connecting, and they allow fear to shape how they show up in the world. This journey begins with the realization that presence is not something reserved for a few naturally strong individuals, but something created through intentional daily practice. Viewers will be guided through principles that break apart the shell of insecurity formed from moments of criticism, judgment, or the times you stood before a crowd and lost control. All of it comes from the fact that you never truly learned how to stand firmly within yourself. When you step into this journey, you will no longer appear faint or unnoticed. You will walk into a room with grounded steps, with complete breath, with a calmness that allows others to feel your strength without you saying a single word. This is the starting point, the doorway into the version of yourself you have been waiting for your entire life. What is coming will touch the weak spots you once avoided and turn them into the foundation of an unshakable confidence. This journey begins in every breath, every glance, every small choice you make. And from this moment on, you will no longer walk as someone searching for themselves, but as someone who knows clearly that a powerful presence is something you can create and command every single day. In every encounter, the eyes always arrive before words and reveal things language cannot always express. When you look directly at someone with calm and self-control, you send a signal that you are fully present, that you are not hiding, and that you are steady enough to be seen. Yet, most people avoid eye contact, not because they do not want connection, but because they fear being seen through. They fear being judged. They fear the other person noticing the confusion and insecurity beneath the surface. But the moment you look away, you give up your power. You shrink. You allow fear to dictate how you appear, and you let others unconsciously assume that you are weak, uncertain, or not truly present in the conversation. When faced with someone's gaze, you can choose to avoid it, or you can choose to meet it. Each choice creates a different version of you. When you look down, when you look elsewhere, when you let your eyes escape connection, you are saying you are not strong enough. But when you look directly with calmness, you are saying you are enough. You do not need to act strong, you simply need to be present in the truest sense. Your gaze is the doorway to presence. You can enter any space and transform the entire energy of it simply by looking the right way. And the right way is not staring or imposing pressure. The right way is looking with steadiness, with even breath, with readiness to listen, and with the inner state of not needing to prove anything. When you look at someone with calm, they feel respected. When you look at someone with attentiveness, they feel acknowledged. When you look at someone with certainty, they feel your confidence before you speak a single word. A well-held gaze can transform the entire quality of a conversation. It makes others open up more. It makes them pay attention to you. It makes them feel the weight of your presence. And it makes you magnetic without doing anything flashy. When you practice looking directly, you will realize that what you fear is not the eyes of others, but the feeling of seeing yourself through that gaze. You fear feeling not enough. You fear being judged. But once you move past that layer of fear, you will see that your gaze is a powerful tool that unlocks genuine connection. Think of times you spoke to someone who looked away. What you felt was not irritation, but the sense of not being heard. When you look directly, you give others the feeling of being seen and being heard. That is what everyone wants. Eye contact practice does not begin with looking at others longer, but with daring to keep your attention in the moment. When you hold your gaze for 2 seconds, you break one layer of fear. When you hold it for 5 seconds, you begin to feel calm. When you hold it longer, you connect not only with the other person, but also with yourself. The secret is that you do not look to win or control. You look to show that you are not running from your own presence. From that, confidence begins to form. People with strong magnetism are not captivating because they speak well, but because even in silence they are fully present. And the gaze is the tool that expresses that. When you practice looking directly with calmness, you will feel your body shift into a steadier state. You breathe deeper. Your shoulders relax. Your voice becomes more grounded when you speak. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You only need to be there with your full self. In interactions, your eyes also send the message that you are not afraid of connection. You are not afraid of judgment. And you do not let worry make you shrink. However, remember that looking directly does not mean looking with tension. You do not need to hold your gaze too long or force yourself as if you are fighting. Use your gaze the way you use your breath. Natural, steady, clear, and effortless. When someone speaks, look at them with just enough focus to show you are listening. When you respond, hold your gaze for a few seconds to create emphasis. Then you can look away briefly and return to re-establish the rhythm of connection. As you do this repeatedly, the initial awkwardness fades. In its place arises a sense of stability, as if you have found an invisible anchor. And that stability will spread to the other person, making them listen to you more, respect you more, and remember you more. The most important part of eye contact lies in allowing yourself to be seen and to connect without defensiveness. A person who can look directly is a person who can stand in their own truth. And when you can do that, you do not just connect with the world, you open a doorway to deep, lasting confidence you once believed only exceptional people possessed. But the truth is, anyone can build this. And with each direct gaze, you move closer to the powerful version of yourself you are becoming. There are moments when you know exactly what you need to say, but your chest tightens, your throat dries, and your voice wants to rise, yet is held back by the fear of being judged. Everyone has experienced that feeling, the feeling of knowing you have something important to say, but not daring to speak. The feeling of wanting to defend your viewpoint, but fearing the gaze of others. The feeling of wanting to express the truth, but fearing discomfort or conflict. And it is precisely those moments that create a dangerous habit, the habit of silence. Every time you choose silence, even when you know you have something valuable to say, you send yourself the message that your opinion does not matter. Every time you swallow your viewpoint, you teach yourself that your voice is not strong enough. Over time, that habit weakens your confidence from within. You become someone standing on the sidelines of your own life. To change this, you need one simple yet powerful action. You need to dare to speak even when you are trembling. A courageous voice does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be true. When you speak, even with an unsteady voice, you are rebuilding your belief in yourself. You are telling yourself that fear does not have the right to stop you. Courage is not the absence of fear, but taking action while fear is still present. When you dare to say the first sentence, even if it is not smooth, you have already overcome the hardest wall, the wall of silence. A person who knows how to speak up is not someone who never worries, but someone who has learned to stand beside that worry instead of running from it. When you give yourself the right to speak, others cannot take that right away. But to speak with strength, you must understand that the value lies not in how perfect the words sound, but in the fact that you dared to voice them. People who remain silent are not silent because they have nothing to say, but because they value others' opinions more than their own. When you hold back out of fear of what others might think, you forget an important truth. The only person who needs to believe in your voice is you. Think of the times you sat in a meeting with a clear idea in your mind, yet allowed someone else to say something similar before you. Did you feel regret? Did you feel like you lost an opportunity to show a stronger version of yourself? Or the times you agreed with something you knew was wrong inside because you did not want to create discomfort? Those moments seem small, but they accumulate into a quiet belief that you lack the courage to stand up for your perspective. That feeling is what drains confidence. To break this cycle, you must speak despite the trembling. When your heart beats fast, it is a sign you are standing in front of a chance to expand your identity. The more you avoid it, the deeper fear carves itself into your way of living. But every time you speak, you rewrite your own story. You are no longer someone who gets swept along, but someone who stands at the center of the conversation. Daring to speak does not mean speaking louder or stronger, but speaking from inner clarity. When you speak with calm, your words carry weight. When you speak with certainty, others listen. When you speak with truth, you create trust. And all of it begins the moment you dare to open your mouth even while trembling inside. A person with inner strength is not someone who is never shaken, but someone who can rise even when their emotions are trembling. When you speak through the trembling, you are not weaker, you are stepping into a new layer of power. Each time you dare to speak, you teach your mind that you are the one who decides how you live, not fear. Then confidence becomes not something you chase, but something you generate through each choice. And when you repeat this over time, you discover a liberating truth. Your voice does not need to be perfect to be valuable. It only needs to be spoken. Because when you dare to speak, trembling or not, you are declaring that you are present, you have a voice, and you deserve to be heard. In every space you walk into, there is always a fragile moment of silence, where people observe one another to see who will speak first and who will take the lead. That moment seems small, but it is a natural test that decides whether you belong to the group who leads or the group who waits for signals from others. When you take the initiative to greet first, you are sending a clear message that you do not avoid, you are not passive, and you do not allow your presence to fade in any environment. A greeting has never been just a social formality, but a declaration of position. When you are the one who starts, you set the rhythm of the conversation, you shape the energy tone, and you show that you are comfortable stepping into connection. Most people do not greet first, not because they lack politeness, but because they fear being ignored, fear being judged, or fear not being responded to. But the truth is that other people's reactions matter less than the fact that you are training yourself to lead. When you greet first, you do not need a loud voice or a showy attitude. You only need clarity, calmness, and decisiveness. That decisiveness creates a powerful impression. When you enter a room and speak, the first greeting, the atmosphere shifts. Others immediately sense that you are not the type to wait for someone else to lead. You walk in carrying a stable energy field. You are saying without words that you are fully present here. A greeting is also a mirror of inner strength. People who lack confidence always think they must wait for someone else to acknowledge them before they dare to speak. Confident people create acknowledgement through their own initiative. When you greet someone, even for 1 second, you are communicating that you see them, that you recognize their presence, and that you are not afraid to approach. This makes them feel that you are approachable, open, and internally grounded. The truth is that people are not drawn to those who stay silent out of shyness, but to those who take the first step. Taking the initiative to greet also helps you break the invisible tension the brain creates when encountering strangers. A greeting shifts the state from defensive to connected. When you move someone into connection with just a few simple words, you have stepped into the position of controlling the flow of interaction. What matters is maintaining naturalness. A clear greeting, calm eyes, a steady voice, and a little warmth in your expression are enough to create a powerful shift. You do not need to overdo anything, because excess does not create respect. Steady calmness does. Look at everyday moments. When you walk into an office and say good morning before anyone else speaks, people immediately turn toward you. When you walk through a hallway and nod in greeting others, remember you as someone fully present rather than someone who drifts by like a shadow. When you enter a meeting and open with the first greeting, you define your role in the conversation from the very first second. This initiative also affects how you see yourself. Every time you greet first, you teach your mind that you are not beneath anyone, that you do not need permission to speak, that you do not wait for safety to connect. You create safety from within. As you repeat this again and again, your mind begins to shift its view of who you are. You become someone who steps forward instead of someone who stands behind waiting for cues. You become someone who owns the space rather than someone pressed down by it. An interesting thing is that the person you greet feels this initiative clearly. They feel your clarity, your warmth, and your lack of fear. And that feeling makes them more open to you, more willing to talk to you, and more likely to respect you. Greeting first is not a small action, but a strategy for building strength. It forces you to step out of your comfort zone. It forces you to accept the possibility of not being responded to. It forces you to drop the ego that fears rejection. And it forces you to train stability. Every greeting is a practice of courage. Every greeting is a beat that establishes confidence. Every greeting is a signal to the universe that you are not hiding from life, but stepping into it. And like any powerful habit, greeting first will eventually become instinct. At that point, you no longer wonder whether you should greet or not. You simply do it as part of the powerful presence you are building. Others will look at you and sense not only politeness, but the ability to lead situations, dissolve distance, and create the first point of connection. And that makes you stand out in the best possible way. When you develop the habit of greeting first, you stand in the position of the one who plants the seeds of positive relationships. And the one who plants the seeds is always the one who holds the initiative. Because in any encounter, the person who sets the first rhythm is the one who holds the greatest energy in the room. And that is the position you are moving toward little by little through each simple yet powerful greeting. There is one thing many people do not realize, that the power of speech does not lie in what you say, but in how your voice carries it outward. An ordinary sentence can become sharp if the voice is steady, and can become weak if the voice trembles. People do not only hear your words, but also hear your inner state through each breath, each resonance, each pause. Your voice is a mirror reflecting your inner confidence. When you let your voice tremble with anxiety, you are giving the lead to fear. But when you keep your voice steady, you are keeping control in your own hands. A strong voice does not need to be loud. It only needs to be full, clear, and not swept away by chaotic emotions inside. When you speak too fast, listeners feel you are uncertain. When you speak too softly, they feel you do not believe in what you are saying. When you speak too high, they feel you are being defensive. But when you speak with a slower rhythm, deeper breath and self-control, your voice becomes a force that touches the listener, making them pause, pay attention, and feel your presence. The truth is that a stable voice comes from stable breathing. When you are tense, your breath rises high and becomes shallow, making your voice easily break. When you relax your breath into your belly, your voice instantly gains depth and weight. Each time you prepare to speak, pause for a second to stabilize your breath and let your voice come out from that calmness. That tiny moment is the boundary between haste and mastery. Notice those with strong influence. When they speak, their voices are not dragged away by urgency. They do not try to prove anything. They let their voices carry natural confidence. They know when to pause, when to emphasize, and when to relax. Pauses that seem meaningless allow their words to be fully absorbed. When you create a pause, you are sending a signal that you are not afraid of silence. The weak fear silence because they think it makes them awkward. The strong use silence as part of their language. It makes the listener feel that you are controlling the space and not being driven by emotion. A steady voice also communicates that you have clarity in your thoughts. Others trust you more, respect you more, and open up to you more because a steady voice gives them the sense that you are not easily shaken by pressure. In tense situations, when people begin to lose composure, the one who keeps a stable voice becomes the anchor for the entire room. You do not need to speak well. You only need to speak clearly. You do not need to speak much. You only need to speak firmly. When your voice is calm, others will adjust their emotional rhythm to yours. That is the power of someone who can control their inner energy and transmit it outward through speech. Another important truth is that you do not need to craft a perfect voice. You only need to let your real voice be supported by self-mastery. Let your pace slow down. Let your breath go deeper. Let each sentence carry weight instead of rushing out. When you do that, you will notice that the trembling that once scared you gradually fades. You begin to realize that you can stand before anyone without losing your inner stability. A steady voice also comes from speaking not from a place of seeking permission, but from a place of knowing your voice has value. When you speak from apology, your voice becomes small and weak. When you speak from authenticity, your voice becomes clear and confident. You do not need to impose, but you must be certain. You do not need to strain, but you must be fully present in your words. An interesting thing is that when your voice changes, the way others see you changes. They no longer see you as someone easily swayed. They feel your stability and want to hear you more. Your voice is presence in sound. If the eyes are the gateway of connection, the voice is the pathway of trust. When you combine both, you become powerful in the most natural way. And what gives your voice weight is not complex technique, but your inner state when you speak. When you are calm, your voice is deep. When you are clear, your voice is strong. When you are steady, your voice is influential. And when you combine these elements, your words become something others do not just hear but feel. A steady voice is the tool that creates long-lasting magnetism. It does not come from force, but from knowing how to stand firmly within yourself. When you practice this every day, you will realize that your voice not only changes how you communicate with the world, but also how you communicate with yourself. And from that, a deep, unshakable confidence begins to form. In every conversation, there is a silent factor that determines whether you will be heard or not. That factor does not lie in the words you choose, nor in the story you tell, but in the way you stand. Your body is the foundation of your presence, and how you hold it shapes the entire energy you project. When you stay still while speaking, you create a firm center of gravity that forces the listener to focus on your words. When you move too much, turn your body repeatedly, overuse your hands, or sway from nervousness, you scatter the attention of your audience. They cannot feel stability from you. But when you stand still and keep your body aligned on a solid axis, your words gain a powerful launchpad that makes each sentence clearer, deeper, and more impactful. Physical stability is a signal of inner stability. The listener does not need you to say you are confident. They look at how you stand and they feel it. Standing still does not mean being stiff. Standing still means you are not shaken by anxiety, not pulled by uncontrolled movements, and not letting your inner emotions knock you off your center. Imagine two people talking. One continuously shifts unconsciously, as if wanting to retreat from the situation, while the other stands in steady calm without defensiveness or haste. Which one do you trust more? Which one captures your attention more? Which one makes you feel strength? That is the power of stillness. The body has its own language, and often it speaks louder than words. When you stand still with relaxed shoulders, an open chest, level chin, and steady breath, you communicate that you are fully present. Others see you as someone composed, someone who is not overwhelmed by the situation, and someone with inner strength. This change does not require years of practice. What you need is awareness. Many people do not realize they are moving unconsciously when anxious. They turn their bodies, touch objects, fidget repeatedly, take half steps backward, or shift their weight from one foot to the other. These small movements make them appear uncertain and reduce the credibility of their words. When you break that habit by standing still, you are sending the message that you do not wobble under the gaze of others. Your stillness is the root of your presence. It keeps your energy concentrated, helps others perceive you clearly, and makes what you say imprint more deeply in their mind. Stillness also stabilizes your breathing. When your body moves constantly, your breath follows a rushed rhythm, making your voice uneven and giving the impression of instability. But when you stand still, your breath falls into steadiness. Your voice becomes deeper, clearer, and naturally more magnetic. Interestingly, when you stand still, you also draw the listener's attention to the exact point you want. If your body constantly moves, their eyes must chase it. causing attention to scatter. When you stand still, your body acts as an anchor for their mind. Because of that, each sentence you speak carries greater impact. Stillness also creates trust. A person who stands firmly is often perceived as reliable. People feel they can stay calm in pressure. They feel they have emotional maturity. They feel they know what they want. All of that comes from how they stand. When you stand still, you create an energy field that slows the other person down. Their speech softens, their tone calms, and the conversation becomes less tense. This is the power of someone who does not need many words, yet can shape the flow of interaction. The stronger a person is, the less they move. Not because they are tense, but because they do not need to prove anything. Their body speaks for them. This does not only apply in one-on-one conversations. In larger settings like meetings, presentations, or speaking in front of strangers, stillness becomes even more important. When you stand firmly, the entire room turns their attention toward you. Your presence becomes noticeable even before you begin to speak. One single act of holding your body steady creates the sense that you are the leading figure in that space. When you stand still, you allow your mind to focus more easily. You are not distracted by your own movements. You do not waste energy controlling your body. You devote all your energy to delivering your message, shaping your voice, and connecting with the listener. Stillness is both a communication skill and a life skill. It teaches you how to stay calm in chaos, how to stay clear when emotions rise, and how to stay centered when pressure tries to pull you off balance. And when you practice long enough, you will feel that stillness stops being an effort and becomes the natural state of someone who has found inner strength. Your stillness becomes the foundation for every other skill. It sharpens your gaze, it deepens your voice, it strengthens your initiative, and it makes you someone others look at and feel that you are controlling the space with your calm. That is the art of stillness, a quiet art with the power to transform the way the world sees you. In the journey of building inner strength, there is a simple yet powerful rule that real growth always lies behind the things you tend to avoid. Everyone has things that make them uncomfortable, whether it is facing a difficult person, speaking in front of a group, entering a tough conversation, or doing something they believe they are not good enough for. Those small things seem harmless, but they are the invisible wall that has held you back for years. What you fear is not the situation itself, but the feeling of being in that situation. You fear the feeling of being judged, the feeling of not being good enough, the feeling of awkwardness, the feeling of failure. And to avoid those feelings, you avoid the very things you need to face most. But avoidance never makes fear disappear. Avoidance only makes it bigger and embeds it deeper within you. When you avoid something, once your mind records that avoidance keeps you safe, and then it begins to turn avoidance into a habit. The more you avoid, the stronger it becomes. The more you step back, the more it suppresses you. And the more you sink into your shrinking comfort zone. To break this loop, you must step into the very things you have always stepped away from. The first step is always the hardest, because it is the moment you go against your old programming. When you decide to do something you used to avoid, you are rewriting the operating rules of your mind. You are telling yourself that you are not limited by temporary emotions. You are not controlled by fear, and you are no longer choosing the easy path. Everything you avoid is a lesson you have refused. Everything you face is a new layer of strength you unlock. You will realize that most of the things you fear are not actually that frightening. Fear exaggerates reality. The mind creates the worst scenarios to protect you from risk. But that protection is what makes you smaller. When you directly face what you fear, you see that the truth is lighter than the fear your mind created. You see that you can stand in the trembling without breaking. You see that you can handle a situation even if you are not perfect. You see that you are stronger than the shadow fear created. An important truth is that you do not need to start with something huge. Choose small things you often avoid. If you fear starting conversations, initiate a short one. If you fear expressing opinions, Say one simple sentence in the meeting. If you fear rejection, try once to ask directly for what you want. Each small action is a strike against the habit of avoidance. And each strike cracks the wall of fear a little more. The miracle happens when you do this consistently. You begin to feel a new level of freedom. Freedom from the judgment of others. Freedom from the negative stories in your head. Freedom from always needing to feel safe. And that freedom opens a strength you never knew you had. When you face what you fear, you send your mind the signal that you are the one leading, not your emotions. The mind then adjusts its responses. Fear shrinks, belief grows, and confidence begins forming from the moments you thought you could not do something but you did it anyway. You will also realize that people do not watch and judge you as much as you think. Most people are busy with their own fears. They do not spend time analyzing you. What you think they are thinking is actually what you are thinking about yourself. When you face the situation you fear, you see the truth. You see that people do not care as much as you imagined. You see that embarrassment, if it happens, is not that serious. You see that life goes on even when you are not perfect, and that truth frees you. Facing what you avoid is the fastest path to expanding who you are, because it forces you to confront your old limits and break them. Not to prove something to the world, but to prove to yourself that you can stand inside your emotions without being controlled by them. Strong people are not those without fear, but those who have walked through fear enough times to realize fear is just a temporary feeling, not an absolute truth. When you step into what you fear, your body may tremble, but your inner strength will stand firm. And when you repeat this over time, you develop a type of power that others can feel the moment you walk into a room. That power does not come from appearance, but from having trained courage through countless small actions. This is the foundation of lasting confidence, a confidence that cannot be taken away by criticism, doubtful eyes, or any challenge, because you know clearly that you can stand firm in the very thing you once feared most. In every conversation, people often think that speaking fast shows intelligence or confidence, but the truth is completely the opposite. Speaking fast only shows that you are trying to escape your own anxiety. Speaking slowly is the declaration that you are in control of the time, the space, and the rhythm of the exchange. When you speak slowly, you give the listener the chance to absorb each idea you express, and you give yourself the chance to show clarity in your thinking. A slow pace is not laziness, but sharpness. It shows that you are not afraid of silence, not afraid of someone's gaze, and not afraid of the moment slowing down, because strong people are those who do not rush. When you speak fast, your body is in a state of tension, your heart beats faster, your breath becomes shallow, and your mind is pushed into reaction mode instead of leadership mode. You just want to get past the discomfort as quickly as possible. But when you speak slowly, your breath deepens, your heartbeat steadies, and your whole body shifts into an active state of control. You steer the flow of the conversation instead of being swept by it. The interesting thing is that listeners never complain about someone who speaks slowly, only about someone who speaks too fast. When someone speaks quickly, they make listeners tense along with them. The listener has to work to keep up and therefore cannot fully take in the message. In contrast, when you speak slowly, your words gain weight. Each sentence feels carved into the air, and the listener has enough time to feel it. Observe those with strong influence. They do not chase the speed others impose. They create their own speed. When they speak slowly, everyone automatically quiets down to listen. When they pause, everyone notices. When they emphasize a point, the room seems to lean toward them. A slow pace does not weaken you, it makes you magnetic. Speaking slowly forces you to think more clearly. When you cannot hide behind speed, you must face your own thoughts. This makes your words more precise, more coherent, and stronger. Speaking slowly also prevents you from saying things you will regret. When you give yourself an extra beat to think, you take control of your emotional reactions. You do not get swept into anger, confusion, or pressure from the environment. You choose your words, your tone, and your delivery. And that choosing is strength. Someone who speaks slowly is not lacking ideas, but respecting each idea they express. That is confidence from deep inner power. Speaking slowly also makes listeners feel connected. They have time to understand you, to empathize with you, and to respond to you. When you speak too fast, you create distance. When you speak slowly, you close that distance with understanding. In professional or personal communication, a slow pace is a skill that builds trust. Listeners feel you are steady, calm, and capable. You do not need to impress with loudness, but with solidity. When you speak slowly, what you say becomes more memorable. The slow rhythm creates natural emphasis that gives each sentence a longer resonance. Listeners do not just hear you, they think with you. They are not pulled into speed, but into depth. One important truth is that a slow pace does not mean dragging your words in a tiring way. A slow pace means you control each pause, each breath, and each shift of thought. You know when to stop, when to move forward, and when to increase seriousness in your tone. When you speak slowly, your eyes connect better. Your voice stabilizes, your posture strengthens. All of it blends into a powerful presence that earns respect. A slow pace also helps you feel comfortable with yourself. When you are not scrambling to keep up with your own speed, you can listen more deeply. You listen to others, you listen to the room, you listen to your own emotions, and from that you respond better. Speaking slowly is also a way of respecting your own voice. You do not throw it out carelessly. You lay it down deliberately. Each sentence is a brick building the image of you in someone's mind. Each sentence is a mark. When you speak slowly, you create the image of someone mature, calm, and grounded. Others look at you and sense the difference immediately. They feel you are trustworthy. They feel you understand what you are saying, and they feel you are not swayed by the environment. That makes you the leader in any conversation. When you practice a slow pace for a while, you will notice your mind also slows down, becomes clearer, and less driven by emotion. Speaking slowly is not just a communication skill, but a life skill. It teaches you how to control your breath, your thoughts, and your attention. When you speak slowly, you are teaching yourself that you do not need to rush to be heard. You only need to be certain. And that certainty will follow you into every relationship, every conversation, and every important opportunity in your life. Speaking slowly is how you let the world hear your real voice and feel the inner strength you have built through each courageous choice you made before. In every conversation, there are people who talk a lot, yet no one remembers them. And there are others who speak only a few sentences, but everyone feels their influence. The difference lies in the fact that the second type knows how to ask questions at the right time, in the right place, and on the right point. A question is the key to opening someone's heart and the way for you to reach the deeper layers of interaction that most people never touch. A question is not only for gathering information, but for opening a doorway that lets you see the mind of the other person, understand them, connect with them, and make them feel that your presence has depth. Asking deep questions is an art that, when done correctly, makes the listener not only answer you, but also discover themselves through your question. When you ask a good question, you take the conversation from the surface to the roots where emotions, beliefs, and true motivations are formed. This makes you naturally magnetic without needing to talk much. One question is stronger than any persuasion. In contrast, when you only talk about yourself, only share what you think, or only tell what you know, you make the conversation one-sided. The listener does not feel they are part of it. But when you ask questions, they begin to speak, begin to think deeper, begin to reveal emotions, and that is when they feel connection. People connect with those who make them talk about themselves more than with those who talk too much about themselves. The secret lies in the fact that humans always want to be seen and heard. A question asked at the right moment creates the feeling that you truly see them. They do not just hear you. They feel that you care about what is happening in their mind. A sharp question can break through defenses, calm tension, and guide the energy of the conversation in a more positive direction. A question is how you maintain initiative without making the other person feel imposed upon. You guide the conversation without taking over. You create depth without being the center. A question does not need to be complicated. The important thing is that it must be genuine. A genuine question makes the listener exhale, drop their guard, and begin revealing what they have never said before. When you ask someone what matters most to you in this, or what is the hardest part for you right now, you give them a chance to open up. This is how you build trust. And trust is the foundation of connection. Observe the people who are most loved in personal or professional life. They are not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who make others want to talk to them. Their magnetism comes from their ability to ask questions, listen, and feel. When you know how to ask questions, you are using emotional intelligence to guide the conversation. You do not just hear words. You hear meaning, you hear emotion, you hear what is happening behind the words. This makes others feel safe around you, and when they feel safe, they open up. In professional communication, sharp questions help you understand the real needs of the other person, help you avoid misunderstandings and avoid rushed decisions. They make you someone with clear thinking and refined problem-solving skills. In personal communication, deep questions help you create connection that not everyone knows how to create. They give you a window into the inner world of the other person and help you understand them not just through actions but through the depth of their soul. What is interesting is that when you ask the right question, you are also showing the other person that you are not in a rush to judge. You give them space to say what they think, to explore the issue themselves, and sometimes to realize something they had never recognized before. A question is therefore not just a communication tool, but a tool that transforms the energy of a conversation. A good question also saves you effort. You do not need to speak impressively or persuasively. You only need to open a doorway and let the other person walk through with natural sharing. When they speak more than you, they feel more connected to the conversation and see you as someone approachable, understanding, and trustworthy. However, asking deep questions does not mean interrogating. Interrogation creates pressure, while the right question creates space. Interrogation makes people defensive, while a question makes them open. The important thing is that your inner state must be calm, non-judgmental, and not trying to control the answer. When you ask from sincerity, the listener feels it immediately. One thing many people do not realize is that questions reveal intelligence. Those who ask the right questions show that they observe well, understand others' emotions, and can see beneath the surface. This is a kind of intelligence that makes others admire you without feeling overwhelmed. When you practice the ability to ask questions, you will see transformation in every relationship. You not only speak at the right time, but also listen the right way. You understand issues faster, resolve conflicts more easily, and build deeper trust. Every conversation becomes a journey of discovery rather than a shallow exchange. When you know how to ask the right question, you show not only presence, but also subtlety. You guide others into deeper parts of themselves, and that always creates a strong sense of connection. A deep question can open an entire world. And when you become someone who can open such doors, the world will look at you with the respect and affection you once thought was reserved only for special people. But in reality, with practice, you can absolutely become one of them. In every conversation, there are people who talk a lot, yet no one remembers them. And there are others who speak only a few sentences, but everyone feels their influence. The difference lies in the fact that the second type knows how to ask questions at the right time, in the right place, and on the right point. A question is the key to opening someone's heart and the way for you to reach the deeper layers of interaction that most people never touch. A question is not only for gathering information, but for opening a doorway that lets you see the mind of the other person, understand them, connect with them, and make them feel that your presence has depth. Asking deep questions is an art that, when done correctly, makes the listener not only answer you, but also discover themselves through your question. When you ask a good question, you take the conversation from the surface to the roots where emotions, beliefs, and true motivations are formed. This makes you naturally magnetic without needing to talk much. One question is stronger than any persuasion. In contrast, when you only talk about yourself, only share what you think, or only tell what you know, you make the conversation one-sided. The listener does not feel they are part of it. But when you ask questions, they begin to speak. begin to think deeper, begin to reveal emotions, and that is when they feel connection. People connect with those who make them talk about themselves more than with those who talk too much about themselves. The secret lies in the fact that humans always want to be seen and heard. A question asked at the right moment creates the feeling that you truly see them. They do not just hear you, they feel that you care about what is happening in their mind. A sharp question can break through defenses, calm tension, and guide the energy of the conversation in a more positive direction. A question is how you maintain initiative without making the other person feel imposed upon. You guide the conversation without taking over. You create depth without being the center. A question does not need to be complicated. The important thing is that it must be genuine. A genuine question makes the listener exhale, drop their guard, and begin revealing what they have never said before. When you ask someone what matters most to you in this, or what is the hardest part for you right now, you give them a chance to open up. This is how you build trust. And trust is the foundation of connection. Observe the people who are most loved in personal or professional life. They are not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who make others want to talk to them. Their magnetism comes from their ability to ask questions, listen, and feel. When you know how to ask questions, you are using emotional intelligence to guide the conversation. You do not just hear words, you hear meaning, you hear emotion, you hear what is happening behind the words. This makes others feel safe around you, and when they feel safe, they open up. In professional communication, sharp questions help you understand the real needs of the other person, help you avoid misunderstandings, and avoid rushed decisions. They make you someone with clear thinking and refined problem-solving skills. In personal communication, deep questions help you create connection that not everyone knows how to create. They give you a window into the inner world of the other person and help you understand them not just through actions but through the depth of their soul. What is interesting is that when you ask the right question, you are also showing the other person that you are not in a rush to judge. You give them space to say what they think, to explore the issue themselves, and sometimes to realize something they had never recognized before. A question is therefore not just a communication tool, but a tool that transforms the energy of a conversation. A good question also saves you effort. You do not need to speak impressively or persuasively. You only need to open a doorway and let the other person walk through with natural sharing. When they speak more than you, they feel more connected to the conversation and see you as someone approachable, understanding, and trustworthy. However, asking deep questions does not mean interrogating. Interrogation creates pressure, while the right question creates space. Interrogation makes people defensive, while a question makes them open. The important thing is that your inner state must be calm, non-judgmental, and not trying to control the answer. When you ask from sincerity, the listener feels it immediately. One thing many people do not realize is that questions reveal intelligence. Those who ask the right questions show that they observe well, understand others' emotions, and can see beneath the surface. This is a kind of intelligence that makes others admire you without feeling overwhelmed. When you practice the ability to ask questions, you will see transformation in every relationship. You not only speak at the right time, but also listen the right way. You understand issues faster, resolve conflicts more easily, and build deeper trust. Every conversation becomes a journey of discovery rather than a shallow exchange. When you know how to ask the right question, you show not only presence but also subtlety. You guide others into deeper parts of themselves, and that always creates a strong sense of connection. A deep question can open an entire world. And when you become someone who can open such doors, the world will look at you with the respect and affection you once thought was reserved only for special people. But in reality, with practice, you can absolutely become one of them. In every group, there are always moments when no one wants to be the first to start. Everyone looks at each other, waits for each other, watching to see who will step forward first. This hesitation may come from fear of being wrong, fear of being judged, fear of doing something imperfect, or simply the fear of becoming the center of attention. But it is in those very moments that real opportunity appears. When everyone else is still uncertain, That is the moment you can step up and take the role of leading. Not through force, but through clarity and initiative. A leader does not have to be the best or the most knowledgeable, but the one who dares to act while others are still hesitating. Leadership begins with small steps. When the whole group is silent, you are the one who speaks first. When everyone is confused and does not know where to start, you are the one who proposes the first direction. When someone is hesitant to try, you are the one who steps forward to break the stillness. These small actions show that you have the ability to set the rhythm for the situation, and that rhythm will spread, making everyone feel safer. People often think leadership requires titles or official recognition, but in reality, leadership belongs to the one with initiative. When you take initiative, you shape the energy of the whole group. You create a sense of safety for others to rely on. You make people feel that if someone has already stepped up, then they also can. Humans are strongly influenced by the actions of those around them. When you begin something, you open a doorway for others to walk through. In the workplace, leadership is not always commanding, but guiding the energy of the group into a more effective flow. When the group is confused, you are the one who asks the right question to open the topic. When the group falls into silence, you are the one who shares an idea to restart the exchange. When people argue without direction, you are the one who gathers the main points to clarify the issue. Leadership is the ability to see the next step even when others do not. When you can do that, you naturally become the pillar without needing a title. In personal life, the ability to lead is just as important. When others are stuck in choices, you are the one who says, "Here is the first step we can take." When your group of friends cannot decide on a plan, you are the one who offers a solution or asks the necessary question to connect everyone's ideas. The important thing is you do not wait for someone to tell you to act. You act because you see that action is needed, and that initiative makes you someone people trust. A leader does not always have the answers. Sometimes they simply take one step so others see that the step is not as frightening as they imagined. When you step first, you reduce pressure for everyone else. You show them that they do not need to be perfect to act. You break the shared anxiety with your calm. Another important point is that leadership does not make you controlling, but makes you a positive influence. When you lead with stability and listening, others feel comfortable following the direction you open. They trust you because they feel you act not from ego, but from collective benefit. When you lead with clarity, others feel safe. When you lead with calm, others feel less pressure. When you lead with quiet observation, others feel understood. And when you lead with courage, others feel inspired. Leadership is not always about speaking loudly or standing in front. Sometimes leadership is saying the sentence someone else is afraid to say. Sometimes leadership is doing the thing someone else is afraid to do. Sometimes leadership is pulling the group out of stagnation with one small but timely step. And sometimes leadership is staying calm while everyone else loses composure. A true leader is not someone with external strength, but someone who keeps inner stability even when circumstances are chaotic. When you practice this consistently, you become the person others look to whenever there is a problem. Not because you must solve everything, but because you are the one unafraid to step up when needed. People trust those who can stand firm. People trust those who can see direction. People trust those who do not wait for someone else to start. And over time, you will realize that leadership is not an occasional action, but a part of who you are. Every time you step up, while others are still hesitating, you are building your identity. An identity of courage, initiative, and calm in the face of uncertainty. And that identity will follow you into every environment, every relationship, and every challenge of your life. In every interaction, the energy of your body speaks before your words. Others feel you before they hear you. This means that if you do not control your body energy, you lose a large part of your influence from the very first second. Body energy includes how you move, how you stand, how you use your eyes, how you hold your breath, and how you send unconscious signals. When you are not aware of these things, they operate on their own, according to your inner anxiety, and make others feel instability from you, even when your words seem strong. But when you control your body energy, you turn your presence into a natural magnet that makes others pay attention, respect you, and trust you. It is important to understand that body energy is not something vague, but the way your body expresses your inner state. When you are tense, your shoulders lift, your chest closes, your breath becomes shallow and your eyes become unstable. When you are confident, your shoulders relax, your breath deepens, your eyes become clear, and you stand firmly on your feet. Every small expression creates a different feeling for the person in front of you. And to build influence, you need to know how to adjust those elements. Start with your breath. Breath is the source of energy. When you breathe deeply, your energy moves downward and creates stability. When you breathe shallow, your energy rises upward and creates tension and trembling. If you want to master your energy in communication, let your breath go down into your belly. Just a few deep breaths are enough to return your body to calm and make your voice become fuller. Many people do not realize that by adjusting their breath, they can completely change how others feel about them. Another important point is posture. Your posture not only creates an impression, but also affects your own emotions. When you stand tall, shoulders open and chin level, you not only look confident, but also feel confident. The body and emotions are not separate. When you adjust your body, you are adjusting your emotions. This is why strong people usually have stable posture. They do not let the body pull their energy downward. Another element is eye contact. Eye contact is the strongest language in any interaction. People with inner strength do not avoid eye contact, but they also do not stare aggressively. Their eyes are clear, calm, and intentional. When you look into someone's eyes for a few seconds before speaking, you create connection. When you maintain steady eye contact while listening, you create trust. The eyes say that you are present here and not afraid of the other person's presence. This makes others open up and listen to you more. Another important element of body energy is how you move. People who lack confidence often move fast, abruptly, or awkwardly. Confident people move with intention, each step firm and unrushed. When you move slowly and with control, others sense that you are not being pushed by circumstances, but are owning the space around you. A small movement can create a big impression. Just one deliberate and steady step at the beginning of a conversation can make others feel your inner strength. If you want to maintain influence, never let your body react according to anxiety. You need to put your body into leadership mode. Lead with alertness, with steadiness, and with a clear energy rhythm. In tense situations, if you keep your breath slow, your posture straight, and your eyes stable, you become the anchor in that space. Others will look at you for signals of calm, and when they look to you, your influence becomes the strongest. Body energy must also be consistent with your words. If you speak with certainty but your body shakes, your words lose their power. But if you speak softly while your body remains steady, your words still carry strength. Because true strength does not come from volume but from state. Remember that your body is always transmitting signals, and others are always feeling those signals even if they do not notice consciously. This makes controlling your body energy a crucial skill. When you practice long enough, it becomes instinct. You no longer need to think about how to stand or how to breathe. Your body automatically enters a steady state each time you enter an interaction. And from that, you radiate a natural influence that is effortless, unforced, and strong enough for others to feel immediately. Body energy is what makes people remember you, respect you, and trust you even before you speak your first word. When you master it, you are mastering the entire space around you. In emotionally explosive situations, the most important thing is not what you say, but how much stability you can maintain. When someone loses their temper with you, when someone becomes unstable, when the situation turns chaotic, most people react either by getting angry in return or by shrinking in fear. Both reactions strip away your inner strength. But if you know how to sit firmly like the root of a tree, you keep full control. Sitting firmly means you are not pulled into the emotions of others. When they raise their voice, you do not raise yours. When they become anxious, you do not tremble with them. When they try to pressure you, you do not collapse. Your calm becomes the anchor that changes the entire energy of the conversation. People often measure strength by volume, but true strength lies in stability. The stable one always surpasses the one who loses control because they do not burn out their energy reacting. When you face a tense situation, let your body settle into the chair with solidity. Keep your back straight, both feet grounded, and your breath one beat slower. This posture not only helps you control your emotions, but also signals to the other person that you are not shaken by them. When they see you stable, they gradually reduce their intensity because the human body responds to the energy of the person in front of it. When you maintain calm, you slow their rhythm. When you keep your breath deep, you help them lower their tension. This is not something you do for them, but for yourself. You are the one who controls the rhythm of the situation. Sitting firmly does not mean detaching from the conversation, but being still enough not to be dragged into emotional turbulence. When someone is angry, they expect you to react back. When you do not react emotionally, they sense that their anger cannot reach you. This makes them reflect on their behavior more quickly. A person in an emotional outburst cannot maintain that intensity for long if they receive no emotional reaction from you. When you stay calm, you show them a mirror that emotions can be controlled. In many cases, you even make the other person feel ashamed of their behavior. This is the silent influence of someone who can regulate emotional energy. Another important point is that when you sit firmly, you preserve clarity. Strong emotions always cloud the mind. When you lose your calm, you no longer hear what is truly happening. You only hear noise. But when you remain calm, you hear every layer of emotion, every nuance of meaning, and every real motive behind their behavior. This allows you to respond more accurately and protect your stance without unnecessary conflict. A person who can sit firmly in tension is someone who has trained themselves to rise above the fight or flight instinct. They are not controlled by the primitive emotional system, but use their intelligence to respond. This is a level of emotional maturity very few people reach because they have never learned to sit still in the storm. But once you master this skill, you will find life becomes much easier. Difficult conversations no longer exhaust you. Angry people no longer shake you. Unexpected conflicts no longer break you. Because you have an inner root no one can pull out. Sitting firmly is also how you protect your energy. When you react intensely, you burn energy. When you shrink, you suffocate your energy. But when you sit firmly, you keep your energy centered. This allows you to maintain clarity for long periods without becoming tired. A person with this ability is always seen as reliable. They do not let emotions sweep them away. They are a calm harbor in chaotic circumstances. Others naturally turn to them for advice, for reassurance, or simply for a space where they feel relieved. Great influence often comes from calmness, not loudness. When you sit firmly, you elevate your self-value. The person across from you cannot underestimate you because they feel the undeniable steadiness within you. They see that you are not controlled by momentary emotions. They see that you remain clear even when the situation pressures you. They see that you have the inner strength to stand in the storm without trembling. And that makes you more influential than any words you could say. Sitting firmly also helps you make better decisions. When you are not ruled by emotion, you see issues more clearly. You do not react from instinct but respond from understanding. And this helps you avoid countless mistakes that emotionally uncontrolled people often make. In every relationship, your ability to sit firmly in tension shows that you respect yourself and respect the other person. You do not insult, overreact, or lose control. You create a safe space for both sides to handle the issue maturely. This not only helps you build healthier relationships, but also creates deep trust from the person in front of you. One day, when you look back, you will see that this strength is one of the most important foundations that helped you grow, succeed, and earn respect. Because someone who knows how to sit firmly is someone who no longer fears conflict. They know emotions always pass. They know they are strong enough to stay calm. And they know no one can take away their stability unless they give it away themselves. In communication, everyone thinks that speaking well is the key to influence, but those who understand human psychology deeply know that silence at the right moment is the most powerful weapon. Silence is not weakness, but a form of quiet strength. It allows you to control the rhythm of the conversation, observe more clearly, guide more subtly, and maintain the upper hand without saying a single word. Many people fear silence because they fear being judged, fear being seen as having nothing to say, or fear losing control. But this fear makes them speak too much, speak at the wrong time, speak without focus, and unintentionally reveal their inner insecurity. Strong people do not fill the space with words. Strong people let the space work for them. When you stay silent, you create a pause that forces the other person to reveal themselves more truthfully. Humans, when confronted with silence, tend to rush to fill it with things they did not intend to say. They reveal their real thoughts, their real emotions, and their real insecurities. When you know how to be silent, you make them expose their mind without any force. Silence is therefore the door to truth. A moment of silence is also how you show that you are not pulled into someone else's rhythm. When someone speaks quickly to overpower you, you do not follow. When they try to force a pace, you do not respond to it. When they try to apply pressure with loudness, you stay calm. Your silence becomes a wall that makes their energy bounce back onto themselves. They will slow down, weaken, and eventually adjust to your pace. In difficult conversations or heated arguments, silence is also a way to stop conflict before it erupts. When you do not react immediately, you give your brain time to escape emotional reflex mode. You do not say things you will regret, and you do not cause unnecessary wounds. A short moment of silence can save an entire relationship. Another important point is that when you stay silent, you see more. You see the body language of the other person, the shift in their eyes, the change in their breathing, the crack in their voice. You see things that talkative people never notice. And this observation helps you choose a more accurate, sharper, and more impactful response. Silence also makes your words more valuable. When you do not talk continuously, every sentence you speak becomes a highlight. Others listen more carefully, think more deeply, and remember longer. You do not need many words to create influence. You only need words placed at the right moment. The moment you choose to speak after a pause is the moment you seize control. The listener automatically slows their inner pace and shifts into receiving mode. This is how truly influential people control the atmosphere, simply through presence. Silence is also a form of energy control. When you stay silent, you do not waste energy on meaningless things. You keep your energy centered for the right moment. People who talk too much often exhaust themselves, while those who know silence remain sharp. In communication with negative people or those who like to pressure others, silence is a shield that keeps you from being drawn into their negative energy. You do not react, do not fight back, do not join their emotional game. You let them fall into the emptiness of their own creation. This makes them lose control and forces them to adjust their attitude. The right silence also helps you set boundaries. When you do not respond immediately, you send the message that you are not forced into reacting. This makes others understand that you respect yourself, and they must treat you with the same level of respect. In professional environments, silence makes you a person of vision. When someone presents something, you do not rush to comment. You give space for the idea to settle. You think, observe, and analyze. When you speak, you say something that has been considered. Others will notice that depth. They will see you as someone with weight in the group. In personal life, silence helps you avoid countless meaningless arguments. Not everything deserves a response. Not everyone deserves your energy. When you stay silent, you are choosing to prioritize your peace and your maturity. A person who is not afraid of silence is someone who has overcome a powerful internal fear. The fear of judgment, the fear of being dismissed, the fear of not being enough. When you stay silent and remain steady, you show that you do not need noise to feel strong. You are strong because you are in control of your inner world, and that creates immense attraction. Others feel that your silence is not empty but full of energy. They feel that you have depth, awareness, and certainty. Your silence becomes a space for them to see themselves more clearly. That is why silence is the strongest weapon in communication. not because it frightens others, but because it makes them see the truth and see themselves in that truth. And when you know how to use silence at the right moment, you become someone who can lead without raising your voice. You lead with stillness. You lead with observation. You lead with stability. And that is a strength no one can take from you. When you reach the end of this journey, you will realize that strength does not come from forcing yourself to become someone else, but from returning to the strongest version of who you truly are. Everything you have trained, from daring to speak while still trembling, proactively creating connection, keeping your voice steady, standing still while speaking, facing fear, speaking slowly, asking deep questions, controlling body energy, and knowing how to use silence at the right moment, all leads you to one single point. The point where you are no longer shaken by the words of others, no longer controlled by momentary emotions, and no longer defined by circumstances. You become someone whose stability alone is a source of strength. A person like that enters any room carrying an energy field that others naturally adjust to. Not because you try to make an impression, but because your presence is too clear to ignore. In life, no one can avoid challenges or skeptical eyes, but people with inner strength do not see challenges as threats, but as opportunities to reveal their character. When you have trained yourself to remain calm in conflict, observant in chaos, and clear in silence, you have surpassed the level of instinctive reaction and entered the level of intentional action, a level where you are no longer responding to life but guiding it. When you reach this state, you will realize you no longer need to chase validation. Validation comes naturally when you no longer need it. You do not need to speak loudly to be heard. You do not need to prove yourself to be seen. You do not need pressure to create value. You only need to exist in the strength of who you are, and the world adjusts around that. The most important part of this journey is not that you become perfect, but that you become steady. Steady enough that outside noise cannot pierce into your inner world. Steady enough that the emotions of others cannot disturb you. Steady enough that you know exactly when to move forward, when to pause, and when to simply stay silent so the situation can return to its natural place. You are no longer the one who reacts, but the one who shapes. And when you live in this state, in every conversation, every relationship, and every challenge, you become an unshakable version of yourself. A person like that is not only strong for themselves, but also becomes an anchor for those around them. Life will always test you to see if you have grown enough. When you hold the steadiness you have built throughout this journey, you will realize that no challenge has the power to break you anymore. Because what you have built is not surface-level confidence, but an inner foundation that cannot be taken away. And from here, every step you take carries the certainty, the calm, and the sharpness of a mind trained to a level where nothing can destabilize it. This is the moment you step into your strongest self, the version that life cannot steer away unless you choose to walk in that direction. You have just gone through a profound journey to understand that the greatest strength does not lie in how you speak, but in the state you can maintain when life tests you. When you master your breath, your energy, your speaking rhythm, your silence, and even your most vulnerable moments, you become someone who shows up with a steadiness that others cannot replicate. This entire journey leads you to one single point. The point where you no longer tremble under the gaze of others, no longer shrink under pressure, and no longer get swept away by the chaotic emotions of anyone around you. You walk into any space with a powerful stillness, with a presence that makes others reflect on themselves. That is the power of unshakable confidence. And if you continue practicing each small thing in your everyday life, you will realize that you do not need to prove anything. Your presence itself is already the proof. Thank you for staying until the very end. Your patience and your presence are what give value to this journey. If today's content reached you, helped you look within yourself, or helped you become stronger, please leave a like. Share this video with those who need it, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next stories. Every bit of your support helps me continue creating even more meaningful and inspiring content. I will see you in the next journey. Keep standing firm and mastering your own presence.